What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. This time we're taking a look at Van Helsing, written and directed by Steven Sommers. Van Helsing tells the story of the title character joining forces with Anna Valerius, played by Kate Beckinsale, to take on Dracula and all the forces of darkness, being the classic Universal monsters. Alright, so that's the basic plot line of Van Helsing. So let's talk about it. I overall think that Van Helsing is a very enjoyable movie. I like how it pays a loving tribute to the old school Universal monster movies, and I like how Steven Sommers updates them for the most part. Now, there are certain monsters in this movie that I think that the movie didn't really scratch the surface with, but then there are certain monsters that I think get maybe a little too much screen time, and I would have liked to have seen other monsters get some of that screen time as well. But overall, I think this is a very entertaining and very solid movie. So let's get right into it. The cast in this movie is great. Hugh Jackman as Van Helsing fits the role perfectly. I like the look of Van Helsing. I like how he looks like a rugged badass, and he has a very distinct look with the trench coat and top hat. It's very superhero esque, and it's kind of and it's kind of fitting seeing. It's kind of refreshing seeing Hugh Jackman take on a role that is not Wolverine. Now, even though I've seen this movie a whole bunch of times, and this movie came out at the height of Hugh Jackman's popularity with the X-Men movies, even at this point, it's good to see Hugh Jackman mix up his movie roles a little bit, where he's not just committed to just playing Wolverine all the time. Seeing him play a different action hero is refreshing, and I like Van Helsing, and I like him in the role of Van Helsing. I thought he was great. Kate Beckinsale as the character of Anna Valerius, I thought she was fine in the role as well, though I think her Transylvania accent is kind of iffy in a lot of areas, and there are a few moments where her acting could be a little bit bland. But that's not taking away from anything away from Kate Beckinsale as an actress, because when it comes to her action scenes, I thought she handled herself pretty well, and she looks like a natural. And then again, that all goes back to Kate Beckinsale already having a history with the Underworld movies, so she's already a good uh, actress when it comes to handling the fight choreography. In terms of in the acting department, she's hot and cold. At least to me, that is. No, so those are the two main characters. Let's go out to the side characters. We have David Wenham, who plays the character of Carl, who is like Van Helsing's right hand man and his assistant. And I like David. I like David Wenham. I think he is downright hilarious, and I liked him in the movie as Carl. I like how he's Van Helsing's little sidekick, and I like the bantering that goes on between these two. You know, Van Helsing is the confident man, while Carl is like the scared man who's like this scared little man who does not want to go out into the field because he doesn't want to get killed and see all these monsters. But he is an inventor, and he invents a lot of Van Helsing's weapons, and I like it. And Carl's pretty much there used for exhibition and there to pretty much tell the audience what's going on at every single moment in time. So that's fine for what it is. Richard Roxbury, who plays Dracula, who is the lead villain in this movie. Now, I like the over the top theatrical performance that Richard Roxbury gives the character of Dracula. It's very, very hammy, but you can tell that Roxbury, he's having a good time playing the character. And that comes across off screen. And I like the rivalry that develops between Van Helsing and Dracula. And that goes back to like the old Bela Lugosi movies, and that goes back to the book Dracula itself, when because Van Helsing is Dracula's primary enemy, and vice versa. And in case you haven't realized, Van Helsing is a very Dracula centric movie. Since Van Helsing is a prominent Dracula character, of course you're going to have Dracula be the lead villain because he's the king of the vampires. And I thought Richard Roxbury did a good job in the role. I liked the performance. It's very theatrical, over the top, and hammy, but you can tell the man's having a good time. I also like the look of the Frankenstein monster in this movie. It's very unique. It has a very steampunkish look to it, and I think the actor who played the monster did a real good job at being very theatrical with his performance. And I like the whole prologue that takes place in black and white, which pretty much recreates the events. The last couple of minutes of the original 1930s Frankenstein movie, but adds the added doses of Dracula being there when the monster is being created by Dr. Frankenstein. So I thought that was pretty cool, and that kind of ties into the rest of the movie because pretty much Dracula is using Frankenstein to give his children eternal life, so that way they can so that way they can wreck everything. So I like all that. The monster plays an important, vital role, and I like how Van Helsing, has to protect this monster. But I also like how Van Helsing pities this monster. Now, Van Helsing is a monster hunter, but since even though the Frankenstein monster was created by monsters, the Frankenstein monster is not a monster himself because he does the monster because he's not going out killing people. He just wants to be left alone. So I kind of like that. Even though the monster was created by evil, the Frankenstein monster, is not doing evil deeds, and that kind of and that kind of stays to Van Helsing's morals because at the beginning of the movie, we see Van Helsing taking on Mr. Hyde, and Mr. Hyde is flat out monster, and Mr. Hyde admits to killing people. So of course Van Helsing's going to take him down, but of course when Mr. Hyde turns back into Dr. Jekyll, Van Helsing's blamed for the murder of the good doctor because Van Helsing, in his words, he takes down the monsters and then he's there to see them become the men that they once were. So, and that's what makes Van Helsing a wanted man. So he's almost like an anti-hero in a way, but not. It's kind of iffy on how you want to how you want to put Van Helsing and what category you want to put him in. But I think that's a pretty good description of what his personality is and how his views of the monsters he takes are. So that's good stuff. Now, I am a huge fan of the Wolfman, but I'm not really a huge fan of what direction they took the werewolves in this movie. Personally speaking, I think the primary Wolfman is the character of Vulcan, who is the brother of Anna, who gets injected with wolf venom, and he's used very sparingly. I mean, I like the wolf transformation where he rips off his skin and you see him transform into the Wolfman into a werewolf himself. But I think it's really grossly underutilized. However, I do like the ending where Van Helsing, who was bitten by the wolf, turns into a wolf himself, and I just love the look of the Van Helsing werewolf. It's like this big, monstrous, black-looking thing, and the monster rumble he has with Dracula in his true demonic form is really entertaining, and it's a nice throwback to the old monster battle royal movies that Universal used to put on back in the day. So that stuff I do like, so I can let it slide. The production value of this movie. This movie is shot really well. Stephen Sommers does not get enough credit for being a competent action director. When it comes to writing his scripts, I mean, yeah, he uses basic plot structure to get his character from point A to point B. He doesn't make movies to stimulate your brain. He makes movies to entertain you and while you're eating your popcorn. And that's what Van Helsing is. Van Helsing is a good popcorn action flick, but you can tell that a lot of heart and effort was put into this thing. And I don't think Stephen Sommers gets enough credit for being that sort of director. Because I think from a visual standpoint, even though there's nothing all that dynamic to this movie, it's competently made, it's competently shot, it has a lot of nods and references to the old school Universal monster movies. You know, the gothic architecture of the movie looks beautiful and fantastic. I think the practical effects and the practical sets, they all look immaculate, they all look great. They really capture that 1800s time period of everything. And of course they do some modern updating by giving Van Arrow a trigger happy crossbow and stuff like that. And Frankenstein's monster, like I said, has a very steampunkish look to it. So I like how they put a little bit of modernness into this movie to kind of make it feel a little bit more updated in a way. So I thought all that stuff was pretty good. The story itself, hey, listen, it's a movie called Van Helsing. You ain't gonna get no story. You ain't gonna get no stimulating story. You're gonna get a story that is just gonna get you from point A to point B. The story is simple. Van Helsing has to defeat Dracula. That's it. And that's the only thing you need to know. And the entire movie is Van Helsing chasing Dracula. They even throw in the whole girl getting kidnapped plot into this movie. But luckily, Anna can take care of herself and she can hold her own. But I do like the ending of the movie too. And I do think the ending is kind of sad. Pretty much after Van Helsing defeats Dracula, he's still inflicted by the curse of the wolf. So Anna, in a last-ditch effort, goes to give Van Helsing the cure, but since Van Helsing's in his wolf form, he accidentally kills Anna as she injects him with the serum. And it's a very heartbreaking scene, but it's also a very uplifting scene because now that Dracula's dead, the curse that was put on Anna's family has finally been lifted, and now all members of her family can finally ascend to the gates of heaven, because it was decreed by one of her ancestors that as long as Dracula is alive, no one in her members can ascend to the gates of heaven. So it's kind of a bittersweet ending. You know, Van Helsing lost his love interest, but at the same time, her and her family can finally find peace in the afterlife. So I like that ending. I think it worked. I think it's good, and it's always good to for the hero to lose their love interest too, because not every hero needs to have a girlfriend. So I enjoyed that aspect of the movie as well. And like I said, I enjoyed the little nods and references to the classic Universal monster movies. I like the gothic set design. I like the overall look of Dracula's castle. I think it looks fantastic. And I just think the overall black and white prologue looks fantastic as well too. And you can tell this movie was meant to be seen in black and white. And when you watch it in black and white, it adds another extra layer to this movie as well, which is actually pretty cool to itself. So with all that being said, I'm gonna give Van Helsing a solid 8 out of 10. I like this movie. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it is very entertaining. So yeah, 8 out of 10 for Van Helsing. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.